Hi guys, this week we're going to use the book, Tools Not Rules, and some of the tools in there because I explain them a lot to people all the time individually, but to see how they're going to be used in concert. The idea is that this book doesn't tell you you have to do this on this page. It's not a beat sheet, it's not a formula. It changes you as a writer. It gives you the ability to do things. If you'd watch this all the way to the end, I've got a new little way or some way for you to think at the end, and there's some discount codes and things. If you hit like, it tells YouTube that you think this is worth watching. It also tells YouTube you like this sort of content due to the hashtags and things that I put, and YouTube will serve you up with more things about screenwriting, more things about creativity, and more things about being a creative artist. So let's get started. A long time ago, I asked people to give me an idea that I could build into a story live on a video. And there was a few people sent them in, and I've actually lost the one. I think it was from Will Furman over on Stage 32. And Will said, this is basically it. I'll put it up here somewhere so we can see it. A king comes to town making promises that can't be proven to be true. And that was it, real simple. So what would I do? I would start with a pastel analysis. Pastel stands for political, economic, social, technical, environmental, and law. So let's look at this pastel analysis. I'll have to be looking at my paper. I've got notes, but I'll give a better typed up one for you guys to see. Politically, it's kings. It's a feudal time. There's servants. There's villages. There is no big structure of government. Might is right, the land of the kings. So that's the sort of political structure. Economic, there'll be subsistence living. A town can starve to death and disappear. They farm. Whatever they can make, they may sell to the next village, but what they make, they have to store, and that's their social system. Village life, there might be a village leader, but not much more than that. Society, again, there'll be a village leader, it's village life. There isn't a huge social structure, family groups, and quite often the bigger family will probably have more influence in the town. So it's the society of it is family and village life. Technology, the T. We might have a blacksmith, we're going to have farming tools, we have no mass communication. This is all pre-industrial era. That's the tech. The environmental, well, the story won't have any impact environmentally. We won't be impacting the environment with this story. But the environment could be a character in this story. Winter is coming, if you get it from the Game of Thrones. Or there could be hot summers, or there could be a drought. There could be some reason that the environment's going to play a part, but we're not going to influence the environment with this story. And lastly, is legal. What's the law like? Well, you'll probably have some village traditions, some village laws. The king is probably going to be the most powerful person in the land, maybe a local baron, or maybe the village head, oversees and arbitrates on things like that. But there is no structured legal system. Possibly even the church would play a part in that. So pastel is a world-building exercise. So we've started with, we have a king, we have that sort of thing. What more can we flesh out about the world? So now we know the world. The king's arrived to a town in that world. The next thing we do is I would do what I call a field force analysis, where I draw a line down the centre of paper. I put what the person wants and what their oppositions are going to be. Let's do that for the king. So he claims to be king when he turns up to town. So that's his want, is to be king. He wants credibility. That's another one of his wants. He wants lands to be a base. Another one of his wants. So let's look at the things that are going to oppose that. No proof, and people probably don't believe him. So that's opposing him and his claims. He has nothing to gain credibility as he has no proof, so he can't get his credibility. That's his opposition. He's got nothing to prove his credibility. He hasn't won a war that the people have heard of. Zero credibility with these people. That's another opposing force. And he wants land. The village already has a leader, the village leader. They don't recognise him as a king. They don't need a king. They're not willing to give up their land for someone who's just claiming to be a king. That's the other thing. So he's got no place to base himself from. So we spoke about a village leader a few times. But this king and this story is going to need an antagonistic force against this king. And as I've been thinking about this, I also think maybe the king isn't the story. The king is the inciting incident. He comes to town and he kicks off all these events. So he is the MacGuffin in a way. He is the thing that's going to be driving the story, but he's not really going to be the point of view character, I don't think. So let's look at the village leader. Let's do a force field analysis on the village leader. He wants security for his village. He wants to maintain control in his village, because in a small village, having some form of control would be advantageous. So there's his two things. He wants to protect his village and he wants to maintain control in his village. Okay, so how does the king may draw attention to his village? So that may, anonymity in a small town is good. So a bigger village might come to take things off them if they think they've got advantages from having the king. If this king has made enemies, the town could be the place of a combat, of a war, destroying the town for no fault. So having the king there is a threat to the security. So he wants to maintain the security for his village and his village people. The king threatens that. He wants to maintain control. Well, if the village recognise the king as the king, he immediately loses control of the village, because suddenly an ultimate law is put in above him. He will just become one of the people, one of the subjects. So we've now got some conflict there. He wants to stop the king for a greedy reason. He also knows that it's going to threaten the village, but maybe the village doesn't see that, because the people who don't want power, don't have power, as much power as a village leader, may suddenly start to be drawn towards this king. So we're beginning to see conflict being built into this story just because we know the world and we know the few wants of the characters. And there's a little bit of opposition between what some characters want and what other characters want. Let's do another tool. Let's do a genre breaker. We'll draw a line down the centre. This is a way for you to look at your story. You write down everything you know about the genre and you put the opposite on the other side. And then you take away this and you might actually see some opportunities here. So let's look at the normal feudal king, Captain Blood, Robin Hoodish type era, Kingdom of whatever type films. There's normally a battle for power in these films. Land seems to be the most important thing. They're always trying to take territory, trying to get land, kick people off their land, maintain their kingdom. Land is a measure of success in these sorts of films. Normally a person has loyalty to the king or loyalty to someone, and they're fighting to save that person, maintain that person's power. They're there for loyalty purposes. So let's look at the opposite of those. A person doesn't want power and they're not interested in power. A person doesn't desire land. They're not interested in that. A person doesn't care what happens. They're acting out to get free of the situation rather than staying for the situation and trying to get free of the situation. So let's remove those things. And we've got a person doesn't want power and they don't have it to start with. So they don't have power. A person doesn't desire to have land and they want to be free of the situation. So in this era, we know it's feudal, we know it's, swords and shields. Who doesn't have power in those situations? I would say a female character. And they'll never get power, so they don't have it and they don't desire it because they know they'll never keep it. So that would be a good direct opposite to the king who's trying to get power. This person doesn't have power and doesn't deserve it, or doesn't desire it. This person desires it. So there could be some tension there. She doesn't want the power, but maybe she doesn't want him to have the power. So she's trying to exert some influence. So the village head should be the natural antagonist to the king. But I came up with the idea of, let's say his daughter is going to be the point of view character here. So why would you have a point of view character of the daughter rather than the king? Then I had another idea. So you mull those ideas, because these mechanisms are meant to work on you. So, okay, we've got a daughter in a feudal era in this. So we'll say she's come back. So she's been off, she's been travelling, and we'll say she's joined, and in my mind, she joined the church, which is why she doesn't deserve, or she doesn't desire to own things. It's the vow of poverty and charity she's taken. But her father is ill and dying. She's come back to look after his estate. She doesn't want land, so she's just going to see what she can do for the village using the father's wealth once the father dies, and she's all good with that. While she's there, being the good feudal system, and the father has worked so hard to get what he wants, he doesn't want to give it away, he is encouraging her to marry someone in the village. And we'll have to say it's someone she doesn't like, or even if she likes him, it has to be opposed to what she wants. So she's been encouraged to marry a man who is very money hungry, or from a family who's very money hungry, but he's the greatest threat to the father. So if she marries into that family, the father's estate will still become part of that family, but it won't be taken by force. She'll have some say in the matter, but she doesn't want that say. So now she's got that tension with her dad. And then the king arrives out of nowhere. So you're beginning to see where we can build some stuff. And this is working on me as the writer. It's not dictating to me what I need to do. So now we've got the scenario. The king turns up. She wants to just get back to her religious faith. Her father's dying, so she has to care for him. Someone's maybe starting to backstab the father to the king. The king is maybe unbelievable, a bit insane or something like that. And they're going to justify it by saying that he used to be part of a royal family, or used to be a royal family in the area, that he's the long-lost cousin or the long-lost heir to like an Aragon. He should come back. He's been off in the wilderness. So we've got this Aragon type character. Maybe he's a con man. He could be young enough for her to marry. That would be another little, I didn't think of that before, that could be another little thing. That he wants to marry her. Her father's trying to get her to marry this guy. This guy is now against the king, or the younger one is against the king. The father is covered in the king. Maybe dad is trying to get her to marry the king. So they've got this tension here. She just wants to leave. The only way she can guarantee to keep her father's legacy, and this evil person, I have to say, she can see this evil person being the end of the village, or bad for the village because he's got malevolent leanings. He's going to bully other people out of land. We should also have a ticking clock. So if this king's here, he's causing up trouble, I'll put up an empathy matrix. Okay. What an empathy matrix is. An empathy matrix lets you get a better understanding of the person. So let's look at the daughter's empathy matrix. Her empathy matrix is, what has she seen in the past? What has she heard? What has she done? What does she feel about things? What has she got to win? What has she got to lose? So let's look at that empathy matrix up here. So while you're looking at this empathy matrix, you can see that she's seen the world. She knows it's bigger than the village. She may have heard of other political upheaval. So she might know that this village isn't going to last forever, that it will be sucked into the bigger world because she's seen cities. She's already given a vow of poverty and charity, but she may not be a nun yet. She may be what they call a novice. So she wants to get back to her religious leanings. She knows the town's going to be a thing of the past soon enough. But she doesn't want her town completely destroyed by this one person. We've got all these things. What she has to gain is freedom. Freedom from this. She can leave. That's how you use an empathy matrix. So a few things will happen in the middle, and that's plot. We can develop a bit more of those with a few more. We could do force field a matrix for everybody. And we could do another thing too. We have with that character oppositional matrix. I put one of those up here. That one's out of the book. That's about Batman and the Joker. And basically, what does Batman think of Batman? What does the Joker think of the Joker? So it's the boxes where the little red stars are. The characters are up the top and on the side. What does the Batman think of Batman? What does the Joker think of the Joker? What does the Joker think of Batman? What does Batman think of the Joker? And you can do that for every set of characters in your story. What does she think of the king? What does the king think of her? What does she think of herself? What does the king think of himself? Now you want to look at the relationship between her and maybe her dad. Do the same thing. Between her and the guy who opposes her dad, or the son of the guy who opposes her dad. You start doing these, you begin to pick up these little relationships, and you know how these characters are going to act to each other, how they're going to interact. And once you know how they're interacting, you know that, well, she's going to do this. She might try to not be romantically linked to the king, but she might try to sign over her dad's land to the king, as long as the king, maybe he's got one or two guys, look after her father and promise to protect her father and her father's land against all comers. Now, the king is now being put in opposition to the other guy. So how does the other guy see the king? How does the king see the other guy? And does the king see himself as a moral guy that's going to do what this future nun wants done? How does the dad see himself? Does he see himself as the unofficial king? How does he see the king? How does the king see him? So you start putting these things together. It's going to tell you how they're going to act, how they're going to interact. And then you start saying, okay, so she's here, she's at a village, she wants to get out of the village. So if we did a matrices for her as well, we could have that. What's stopping her from leaving the village? Well, her dad's still alive. Her dad needs care. She's promised she's going to help look after his estate. He's always maybe have already made some promises that she'll marry someone. So then you start building all the actions all the things that she has to defeat to leave the village, all the things they're going to try to keep her there. These are the tools that work on you. Not so much build you a story, but give you all the fuel, puts all the meat on the bones for you to actually pull apart and make a meal out of it. Make yourself a story. Oh, this is the little thing I promised at the end. There's a thing called specific vagary. A lot of fortune tellers use it, and you can use it in your writing. So if I was to say to you, you're a writer, you go to a party, you begin to interact with people, you talk about your script to a few people, they seem really interested, and then you go home and you go, was I being pushy? You begin to doubt yourself. You begin to go, oh, yeah, they weren't really interested, they were just being polite. I was boring. I've got to stop talking about my stuff. I've got to stop being so boring. I've got to watch people. I can't push people. I can't push myself on people. I'm never going to learn enough to be able to write people successfully. That sounds like I was being really specific, but I was actually being super vague, because everyone's got a gregarious side and a shy side. And when you're alone, your shy side tends to come out because there's no one for you to be gregarious to. So insecurities will become more visible to you. I do not know you, I don't know you. But it looked like I was being specific. I was actually being very high level and vague. Do that in your story. Be specifically vague. It'll allow people to engage with your story, because suddenly they go, I've done that, that's how I feel. So when you think of something, think of the outside, the gregarious side and the shy side. Show both sides of a situation, both sides of a person, but you don't have to be super specific. You can be vague, but let people think it's specific. You've got to be specifically vague. The t-shirt is available. Not mine. I don't get any money for the t-shirts or stuff. The book's available as well. If you want a discount, you get 20% off writerduet for annual and monthly subscriptions. That's for you. Again, don't make any money. And as always, guys, keep writing.